Hello again, my name is Ben, and here I am today with a set comparison. I've done some of these before, but if you've seen my Christmas haul, then you know that this is a comparison between the official LEGO Transformers Soundwave that released this year and a knockoff bootleg that I acquired off of Aliexpress. So for references, this is the official, this is the bootleg, for uh, comprehension's sake. So, like I mentioned, I really wanted the new Transformers Soundwave that came out. I have the Bumblebee and the Optimus Prime. I wanted to complete the collection, and hopefully I'm planning to collect whatever new ones that come out. I was worried it wouldn't be here in time for Christmas, and as a little experiment, because I've never tried shopping off AliExpress, I wanted to have a comparison to see how a bootleg version of it would fare, and see if it was worth the value, and would make for a comparable figure to the actual version. So that's what I'm here today. We're going to go over the some of the packaging, the instructions, the build experience, the build quality, and some of the differences that they have to see if the knockoff is something that you would want to consider, or would you be better off with the official version. So first things first, packaging. If you saw my original video unboxing it, then you know that the official one obviously has a official box. You'll see here, you've probably seen it before. The label, all the basic information that a LEGO box would have, the product, sides and all that, in the back just showing off the features. Now, and if you saw the video, then you saw that the bootleg did not come in a box. So to save on shipping costs and make it cheaper overall, it came in a simple packaging with everything coming in plastic bags. Everything was still there, of course, but it makes it a little more cumbersome to try and unbox and store. Not really. I definitely prefer having the actual box with very nice graphics and all that. Of course, it's not really expected when you're dealing with an unlicensed version of it. But I'll give the point to the official one, obviously, in that regard. Now, next, of course, is value. Probably the main thing that most of you are probably curious about. Of course, the official LEGO version here is $189.99 at retail. I bought mine for a little cheaper on eBay. The knockoff that I got on AliExpress, you can get stuff from multiple sellers, so the price can vary in between a lot of different versions. But the one I got specifically was $33, so very clearly in value terms, the knockoff's going to be just so much more. There's going to be so much less money for what you're getting. So in terms of that value, I think it's definitely the knockoff has that advantage. Now going on to the instructions. See the official LEGO one, you got this nice thick instruction manual, basic graphic showing off the build. Inside you'll see, basic LEGO advertisements for their app. And then obviously for one of these more premium icon sets, you'll see just a lot of info about the build, the character, lore, some of the stuff about how the production behind it, things like that. And then if I can find it throughout the instruction manual, I think you'll find blurbs about little bits of trivia about the characters. You'll see this one here about Ravage. See the trivia, stuff like that. So it makes it a very nice, fun build experience, and it's a nice little thing to have once it's done. In contrast, the knockoff comes in a very much thinner instruction booklet. No clear identification on the front of it, just a plain black one, and it's a bit of a beat-up condition, I'll say. And then you open it up to find that inside you'll see the instructions are far more condensed to have it be better in terms of shipping and to save on costs. Once again, they condense a lot of steps onto singular pages, which makes it far thinner and just I would argue it makes it a worse build experience overall because the pictures are far more shrunk inside of it, but you'll see it just kind of condenses a lot of steps onto a singular page. But regarding building experience, it makes it a bit more difficult to identify pieces and color variations. Now, regarding the build quality itself, the parts are fairly comparable to LEGO pieces in general. In most circumstances, I'll mention some of the major differences in a moment here. But overall, a build experience, it is fairly similar. Realistically, you could also just use the original LEGO version of the instructions for maybe a smoother experience, because it's about, I'd say, 97% the same build, but we'll go in-depth here so I can show you guys some of the more finer differences. I would be curious if you guys could let me know, just from a basic glance, you can kind of see they look very similar. So if you're just looking for something to put on a shelf and kind of ignore, you really could just go for the cheaper one, and you wouldn't really mind it. But we'll start off with the first things, you know, you build. The last thing you build is the stand, but then you have the little mass shifting Soundwave here. Again, the right is the official, left is the bootleg. It probably won't show up super well on camera, but I think the Lego one is a lot more glossy of a sticker, whereas the this one's a bit more dull. But again, it's just a lot harder to tell. Obviously, the main thing you'll see on the bricks, you just take this one off. Obviously, knockoffs aren't going to have the official Lego stamp on them, which you'll see here. These are pretty clear that it doesn't. And then you'll see, obviously, you'll see it on the official one here. Has the, it's probably going to not show up very well on the camera, but you will see if the light catches it, the official Lego logo. I might have to get careful, because it is very close, so it's very easy to mix some of things up. See, the print quality is pretty similar, at least on printed pieces. This 2x3 tile is pretty similar on both of these, so you're not going to see like a very similar or like a severe downgrade in the knockoff in that regard. So I think very comparable in that respect. I will say the knockoff, obviously, it comes with an alternate one. The alternate one here, you know, looks fine. Has all the same details covered. Then you see the official one here. Same sort of thing, you know. I'd say they both did a very good job at maintaining good quality in that sense. And it's, so that part, you know, pretty similar. Regarding, we'll start with Ravage. I think this might show the main difference in the builds. You'll see it's aligned. Again, the print quality here on the Decepticon logo, pretty similar. Again, the left one is the knockoff, the right is the official. You'll see the identical build. The print quality for the cassette pieces is pretty similar. I think the left one is a little off-center, but it's very minute. Let's see the prints here for the side of the head. Very similar. I think actually the knockoff is a little bit more reflective in that sense. But again, you'll see, you know, these parts don't have the official Lego branding. Probably isn't showing up too well on the camera. Apologies. But you see here, very similar. I don't know if it's going to pick up too well on the camera. But the gray used here for the knockoff is the biggest thing to use to identify it. It is slightly darker or a bit more yellowed than the official light bluish gray that Lego uses. In a lot of regards, it's similar to the old gray that Lego used to use in the a longer time ago. But you'll see here, regards to the transformation, you know, obviously you take off the weapons, you know, works just fine. You just take off the weapons, and the folding, I'll say the transformation works fine on the knockoff. It's not significantly worse, I'd say. Some of the joints are a lot tighter, and you'll see that very apparently in the Soundwave itself, but for Ravage, it's not too big of an issue. You just fold everything up to where it needs to be. Fold in the head. Fold these in. Apologies. There, you get this done. Works just fine. You see it there. That's the knockoff. Same thing for the Lego. Of course, you know, Lego's definitely a bit more consistent. The joints aren't nearly as tight to get into their right positions. So I can definitely get this done a bit quicker. And also I've already done it, so, you know. You'll see it here. Turn it into a cassette. A little awkward looking, but, you know, that's how it is done. And you'll see it there. The two cassettes. They're both pretty comparable, so I don't really feel like, you know, one's like feeling better than the other. I'd say that the gray, using the official one, and this goes for the whole thing, I do prefer the official Lego gray over this one. So if you want to give it towards Lego for that one, then I'd go for the Lego in that regard. For the two Laserbeaks, there is one significant difference I've noticed with the knockoff. You'll see the print quality, again, pretty good all around with the Decepticon logos. And with the bird, you'll see the head looks fine on this side. And looks alright here. But I think one thing is that if you look at it, it might not be easy to pick up here. But I believe this eye is a lot lower than this one here. Which, if you're looking at it on its side, it's not too noticeable. But if you're trying to look at it straight on, you'll probably notice. One is a fair bit higher up on the head. That's just kind of an unfortunate part, you know, with questionable print quality. So it's kind of how that is. But once you get these transformed, you know, again, you take off the accessories and you just kind of fold it up Again, the transformation for the cassettes, at least, nothing too frustrating here. Connections are solid, and they aren't going to fall apart or anything. So here's the knockoffs. Then do the Lego one. Of course, the Lego one, it's going to be fine. I don't really doubt Lego's quality control in terms of things like this. So you'll see it here. There's your two cassettes. Obviously for this one, you can kind of see it's a lot clearer, if you're looking at it. You'll see, no Lego branding here. You'll see it here. But it is very nice. The print quality is very comparable. It's very similar. You're not going to notice anything too bad. So I like it for that. Don't really have like a favorite between the cassettes. So, I mean, both of them are quite equal. So it's going to go down to the value for those. And obviously one's significantly cheaper. Also, just a little side before I get to it, you'll see the brick separators. Obviously the official Lego one and the knockoff. Made by a brand called BJL. It's cool. It's a brick separator, so I mean, what are you gonna do? Now the main thing with the Soundwaves, we'll pick up 1 second. Now the main thing with the Soundwaves, of course, if you notice it, I'd say the knockoff one here is slightly darker. Probably won't show up too well on camera, but I think overall it's very comparable. Again, you'll see the gray. It's definitely the most noticeable thing to an outsider. The older one, or it looks like older gray that Lego used to use. We know the normal bluish gray that Lego uses now. And then I think the only other major thing, the purple on the Decepticon logo for the knockoff is significantly darker, so it definitely doesn't look quite as purple, especially on camera. It looks more black, where obviously it's going to have a purple here. Also, the build here this is a sticker on the knockoff, whereas in the official one, this is a nice print. And if you see closer here, you'll see that I believe the new Lego one uses a new window piece to get that right scaling. So this version uses older window pieces and the stickers attached across them. It's just not something Lego usually does nowadays, so that was definitely interesting. Though I will say the compromise for this definitely makes some things difficult about the knockoff. Again, on an outside perspective, you'll see they both look quite similar. It's quite... you could definitely go for getting the normal one, or the knockoff, and people wouldn't notice usually on an outside glance. If you just want something, again, nice to look on a shelf, you'd be fine going for it. One other major thing to note is the coloring on the stickers is very, I'd say, poor. The light grays don't look too bad, but you can see it kind of just looks a bit papery. It probably doesn't show up too well on the camera. But at least for the dark blue stickers, at least you'll notice the color matching is very poor to the actual build, to the actual blue. You'll see it's a lot darker on the sticker here, which is a bit unfortunate because it definitely stands out. It's used mostly just in the arms, the ones you'll notice it the most. But that's definitely noticeable. I'd say the sticker quality on the knockoff is quite worse. Of course, the main gimmick or feature for the Soundwave when it came out was the sound. A variety of them. You can keep doing that. It's a very fun thing about the set. But obviously, to save on costs and probably just a difficulty to implement, you'll see that the knockoff doesn't have that feature. It has where it's meant to go, but you press it and nothing's really going to happen. It's unfortunate, but I think it makes sense. And again, if you're just looking for a display, a feature like that isn't really going to matter. Now, for articulation, it's all going to have the same points that the official one has in the arms, the legs, which very static, you'll notice, and splay them out. They have knees, but since they don't move forward, they can't really get a lot of value out of them. Ankle pivot, then, it moves up and down. That's more for the transformation. You get wrist rotation and elbows, and arms. You get double jointed elbows. And then, I believe you get a head swivel. You see there, 360 degrees. All of those things are true for the knockoff over here. You get your arms. See, it's definitely, you'll notice here for starters, and I can feel it, I'll tell you for starters, that the joints here are a lot stiffer, a lot rougher. They aren't going to move, or they're not as nearly as loose, which is actually a good thing for the robot mode, because the official one has this problem where the joints are a bit too loose, so the gun arm kind of falls very easily. You have to spend a lot of time trying to make sure it doesn't. Very frustrating, definitely the worst part about this official version. Also, the wrist is also very loose, so you're going to find it very easy for the wrist to also kind of not hold the gun very well. The one on the right, the knockoff doesn't have this problem. It's going to hold up for a while and stay there unless you want it to move. Very good. Not sure how long these joints are meant to last or if it'll maintain that strength. As with these joints tend to kind of lose their strength as time goes on and the more wear and play is introduced. But also the wrist joint is also a lot tighter here. Very good. I'm quite happy with this. Definitely my favorite part about this official version. The legs can also rotate. I'd say that I think the ones to move them out are not as loose or not as tight as they are in the official version. And the official one feels a lot more tight in that regard. But I will say the rotation here is where the main thing comes up. Very tight. You'll see it's very difficult to rotate these. You'll see again, it pops off very easily because it just comes off. It's not a very strong attachment. It's not really in there. It requires a lot of effort to turn these ones here, which becomes very frustrating when it comes to the transformation. And lastly, the attachments here for the foot transformation are also very tight. See how it snaps? It's very tight. And if it gets strong enough, it makes it a lot easier to tear it off instead of just wanting to transform like it's meant to. And I will get to that transformation for this one because it's definitely the biggest knock against it. Now I'm going to try and transform the knockoff one fully here. It might be a bit difficult. And I'll probably explain some of the difficulties with it as I'm transforming it. I'm sure you've probably seen how the transformation works with the official one, so I mean, won't really go too in-depth with it, but you'll see it here. Take these off, take the weapons for starters. Take the arms and move them out. Again, you'll see the connection here for this one. It doesn't really tab in there very strongly, so it comes off very easily if you're not careful. That's definitely a big knock against the attachments here. Move the arm, get the hands down, get them in a good position because they will get in the way if you're trying to have it touch the ground. Move those out of the way. And you'll notice here the lower torso likes to come off very easily here. It's not very secure. Now, the next thing you want to do, this is where it becomes kind of difficult. Bring up, well, first I should probably bring up the feet. Again, you'll notice, unfortunately, the attachment is very, very tight, so it makes it very difficult to bring up the feet, and it makes it even tougher to bring them down. But we'll get to that if I detransform it. I'm not too sure if I'll do that because it's quite difficult. And you'll see again, because of how it's designed here, to the attachments, some of these parts aren't really getting pulled a lot because of gravity. The official one doesn't really have that problem. But you'll see here, you're going to bring up the feet, and this is where, unfortunately, kind of very tough, tight turn, where it comes off a lot of the time, so it's really just easier to kind of just take it off and turn it to the right orientation to get it in transformation, and then just kind of reattach it, which is very unfortunate because you'd like it to be just a one seamless movement. But nonetheless, you bring it in, attach the back to the clips there, that kind of tabs in. These bring out, get brought in, tabs in. These parts come up, that part gets flush with the rest of the build. Now I bring it for the other side, where I'm not going to try and turn it because it's just too much of a pain. Just going to do this, and you'll see, kind of turn it how it needs to be. I'm going to do the rest of it here, where you just kind of do this, and then bring this out. Unfortunately, it's just a lot more flimsy on the unofficial version, which is very unfortunate. Because the main thing you like with these transformers is the ability to transform them, and if the transformation isn't properly executed, it just makes it very difficult to want to work. Again, I'm having it here be very difficult. Though I will say in this regard, I accidentally turned it the wrong orientation because I couldn't quite tell when I was doing it. My apologies. Again, it is a very difficult and rather frustrating thing to deal with. Give me a moment here. Wait, right. Turn that the right way. And this, it's just a lot easier to kind of pull it out and pull it back in, which is like very unfortunate because like I said, you want to be able to just plug it in and like hope it works. Everything tabs in and like the good connections, but you're just not going to have it here with these, which is very unfortunate. But finally, you just kind of open this part up, turn the head around, that there, then you just kind of put the gun accessories into here. The shoulder can becomes the battery. plugs into there. Like that, and that just tabs into there. Those connections are fine, no real problems there. Then you're left with the cassette form, which it still looks good. It's definitely a pain to get it transformed, as you saw there. Quite a struggle. You'll see again, you probably some of the stereo quality, not the greatest, but again, if you just wanted one of those forms, transformed or untransformed, and leave it there, it does that job quite well. I didn't mention it, but the part where the door comes out works fine. You don't have to worry about that. And at least for the Ravage cassette, we can put it in there. It'll slide in there pretty well. And you can take them out pretty easily. The same cannot be said for Laserbeak, unfortunately. I believe due to how the different pieces used for the glass here, with extra ridges, it makes inserting and re-putting Laserbeak back in far more difficult. It's still doable, but it becomes far more difficult no matter the orientation. It doesn't close as easily as it needs to, as it will with Ravage, so it becomes a lot more frustrating and isn't really worth it. If you try getting it in there, you're probably going to have to end up taking the door off completely. Again, unfortunate, because that's another big gimmick with Soundwave, being able to put the cassettes in there, so having it not work completely is unfortunate, but at least it works with one of them, I guess. So if you want to have that displayed, you can at least do it with Ravage, and it'll hold fairly well. Of course, the transformation with the official one, it's been tested. These pieces that LEGO uses, tested throughout the years, or like quality assurance is definitely there, no matter what people may believe. So obviously, I can do this transformation a lot more confidently without having to worry about parts coming off. If they do, then it's more on me, if we're being honest. But I'm not really showing it up close because you already saw me do it once, so it would be kind of a little annoying. Sometimes you'll hit the sound box, but it's a good problem to have because I think it's a really cool feature that they added for it. And again, this is a very cool transformation when the joints all work, when everything's when it's worked. It does. These parts come off pretty easily, which is probably the worst part about it, I'd say. They just because of how it's done, it's a little flimsy, and if you're not handling it carefully, they definitely tend to come off quite easy. But obviously, you're seeing a lot less struggle and finicking and just trying to make things work less with this official one than with the knockoff. You'll see I got that done a lot quicker. That was a lot less of a struggle. And then you just attach accessories like how they're meant to. And then, yeah, forget about the barrel. Gets back in there, and then of course, and that's the official LEGO version. Again, you see them right beside each other. It's very hard to notice the differences. The differences in the gray aren't really noticeable in this version because you don't see a lot of that. The main difference here, at least, would just be in the sticker here and then the glass area mostly. But everything else is just very similar, and I have to give it props for just how well done it manages to imitate that version. Of course, it's kind of pretty shameless in its regards, but if you want that version, you have that ability to get that and just have just something that looks pretty much identical to the LEGO version in most regards. Of course, getting it to that point is where a lot of the problems come in. And of course, with that LEGO version, you can put in the official, Ravage will fit in there just fine. You can take them out just easily. And if you want to put Laserbeak in there, you're able to put Laserbeak in there and he fits fine. And then you can take him out like that and de-transform him. And that all works really good. It's all seamless. It's perfect. I couldn't ask for anything more from that feature. It's nice. I wish the knockoff one could work as well, but it's kind of what you expect when you're paying like so much less in terms of money. Of course, you're not paying for a sound brick, which is a very nice feature. So that's basically the main things about it. And I think we'll wrap it up with just kind of asking that final question: is it worth to purchase? Is it worth it to purchase a knockoff, or should you just go with the official? If you really like the sound brick, if you really like transforming it and retransforming it, and you like that good solid experience of just being able to do that, I'd say you're definitely going to want to get the LEGO version. If you're just wanting something cheap, if you want to just display Soundwave in one of his two forms, just kind of leave him there. I really do think you're better off just getting a knockoff for that. I think I used to not really like these sorts of knockoffs. I thought it was like shameless, and it's a real shame how I'll do those things. And those things are definitely true. It's not exactly a glamorous industry or a good practice that's done. This is kind of one of the realities of business and these kind of large brands. People always kind of have these, especially in a place like China where Copyright laws aren't nearly as enforced as they are here. Brands are kind of take advantage of that and produce, people would say inferior copies, but in terms of quality, it's fairly comparable in most regards, other than the transformation. So again, apologies for kind of the rambling, but ultimately, I think it's not too bad of an idea to go for the knockoff version. You get all the things that you'd want, mostly, other than the transformation being a little iffy, but ultimately, you're still getting a pretty good product. The build experience is about the same. The parts quality is very good. None of them are broken or misshapen. The connections might be a bit tight in places, maybe loosen some others, but most of the time they're going to hold together, and you're not worried about the thing falling apart too easily. You mess with it a bit, it's not going to fall apart. Same like with a Lego build. So ultimately, I'm quite happy with the purchase, but obviously I don't have need for both of these, so I'm not really going to keep on to the knockoff for very long. But apologies for the rambling. Obviously, whichever one you want to buy is one you want to buy, and that's your decision. But there's some of my thought process going into it, and why honestly knockoffs, or alternatives aren't really as bad as maybe some people make them out to be. With all that being said, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking far this long if you have. Hope to see you guys soon. I probably will make a video going over my Voltron. It won't be a comparison because I don't have the original, but I will be going over it, and I have some interesting thoughts about that one as well. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Happy New Year's, and goodbye.